Welcome to the science and art of open water swimming. Today's guest is someone I've known for a long time and someone whose journey really captures what's possible over decades of endurance sport. Adam O'Byrne started as a triathlete, and I had the chance to coach him back in the late 2000s as he worked his way through to an Ironman, racing in Busselton, New Zealand, and qualifying for Kona and going on to complete the Ironman World Championships in 2010 in under 10 hours. Along the way, he completed a science degree at UWA, majoring in human movement, which clearly underpinned a lot of his thinking around performance. From there, Adam transitioned into open water swimming and has built an extraordinary career. Multiple Rottnest Channel crossings, including a double crossing, and completing the triple crown of open water swimming, being the English Channel, the Catalina Channel, and the 20 bridges swim around Manhattan. Outside the water, Adam's a senior paramedic and now general manager of the Dunedin Urgent Doctors in New Zealand. It's a brilliant story of progression, resilience, and curiosity. Our conversation naturally fell into two parts, and in this first episode, we'll follow Adam's journey from Ironman triathlon through Rottnest crossings and on to completing the triple crown of open water swimming. I'm really excited today to have a chat with Adam. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Grant. Yeah, nice to connect again.
Yeah, it has been a long time. As you say, it's really nice to catch up. And I think in preparing this, going through what you've actually achieved in these last 20 or so years has been quite interesting. Can you take us back to when you sort of first got into endurance sport?
Yeah. It was, I guess I sort of fell into it through just circumstance. I was obviously, like most people, playing AFL footy for all my life growing up and into my early 20s. But then it came along the chance to be a paramedic for St. John Ambulance. So coupled with a couple of injuries that were probably sort of limiting my ability to play at the highest level. Shift work also didn't really go well with the team sport. So I kind of looked outside of, I guess, the team sport aspect into what I can achieve and I guess keep that fitness up through doing something that is also challenging but allows a bit of flexibility. So growing up in Busselton, I'd obviously seen the half Ironman and Ironman races and things. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll give that a crack. And it was like anything, you just start at the bottom and you work your way up. So I started at the 2007 for the first time doing the half Ironman and trained by myself again, like you're saying, just utilizing some of that exercise science knowledge that I gained through human movement at UWA. So yeah, just gave it a crack and I really enjoyed it. Found this triathlon community quite different from what I was used to in the sporting football sphere. So yeah, it was a good challenge, I guess, for me to get stuck into around a schedule that included night shifts and things like that.
So, what do you remember about those Busselton Kona type years?
Yeah. I remember a lot of learning about myself and about, I guess, training and aspects of that, of trying to motivate yourself. Like with team sport comes the aspect of, you got a lot of mates around you and I guess you got coaches and your game plans, all those sort of things. And it's quite an environment that where performance is back a lot of people around you and a lot of team structures. Whereas, going into triathlon, you've got to have a lot of intrinsic motivation to get that, especially if you don't sort of fall in with a coach straight away. So that was something that, I guess I had to learn. And then, eventually found my way to UWA Tri Club, which again, it provided that sort of team environment in an individual sport, which is quite unique. So a lot of competition between people, but also a lot of support and a lot of motivating in that sense. So a bit of structure with the training, which definitely welcomed. So there was a lot of good times in just sort of finding your way in a new sport, which is always exciting. And just unlocking performance and potential that I guess I wasn't the the sort of typical triathlete to come to the sport, being probably over 100 kgs at the time, and 6'2". So yeah, it was quite challenging for me to adapt to a sport that really attracts a lot more of the little whippets and things. So yeah, I remember being in Kona and some guy asking if I was racing. I was like, yeah, I am racing. He says, man, you're a Clydesdale. So yeah, I guess I'm the heavier footed folk, but always took that as a bit of a motivating factor to try harder and sort of keep up with the ones that are probably perceived as being faster. But it was an interesting time, that's for sure. So yeah, my body shape did change and I just adapted to the sport. But it just shows you what a bit of perseverance and bit of commitment to training and how you can really shape your body. Yeah, I guess enjoyable time of just seeing what I could get out of myself and also enjoying that with I guess a like-minded group of people that were part of the UWA Tri Club.
So, I mean, obviously, Kona that time around there was probably a highlight, and you had a fair bit going on in your life at the time. So, from my memory, and I might have this slightly wrong, but uh, did you propose to Anna at the end of the race when you both qualified?
No, it was so. Yeah, it was when we were in New Zealand. We had the luxury of taking 4 months leave and living in New Zealand at the time before Ironman New Zealand. So we had a little snapshot into the life of what it was like to be a pro triathlete with no work. Obviously had no kids at that stage and was staying at Anna's parents' place. So had it pretty good with home cooked meals and things like that. So had a great time over there, just exploring, training, getting that rest, all that recovery. But no, we did a race in Wanaka, which is one of our favourite places in New Zealand. A beautiful place. It was Challenge Wanaka, and it was like a half Ironman. So yeah, we did that race, and I had planned to propose while we were over here. Just wanted to find the right time. But yeah, did the race, and yeah, had some family. It was awesome race, one of the most scenic ones I've ever done. And yeah, just we ended up down at the foreshore, and pretty easy to get on your knees when your legs are so wrecked after a race. So got down, and yeah, with Anna's family there, and one of her good friends and brother, yeah, proposed then. So that was the lead up to I'm in New Zealand, fight for Kona. So a pretty special time looking back on that. So grateful for it that we're able to do it at that stage and able to share it together, which was pretty remarkable when you look back on it. Yeah, special time, that's for sure.
Yeah, because you've shared this endurance journey, although sort of beyond triathlon, you've started to go a bit of different directions. I'm just wondering then, so at what point after Kona you started to move out of triathlon into open water swimming? And when did the swimming start to take over?
That was probably when your first child came along. It was one of those things. It was quite funny because obviously your time becomes quite precious then, and as anyone that done triathlons know, it does take up a lot of time in your life trying to fit in three different disciplines. So yeah, we basically sold the bikes to pay for all the baby stuff, and each chose a discipline. So I got swimming because I probably came from a swimming background, and Anna chose running, which ended up being ultra trail running, which she just loves to this day. And so yeah, that was probably the defining factor, because in the end, like riding bikes in Perth is you're putting your life in everyone else's hands, which is one of the reasons. But then it's also it does take up a lot of time. So it's one of those things that was probably, even though I still love riding and things, it was probably one of those decisions that was quite easy at the time, just to give up your very expensive bikes and your Lycra and things and hang that up, and just focus on one discipline. So yeah, put that time in.
So I'm not surprised with your background as a paramedic, you would have seen a few things on the roads and then had to deal with a lot of those things too.
Yeah, no, who comes off worse in those circumstances, and had a few close calls myself. So yeah.
So can you tell us about your first Rottnest crossing? I think it was around about 2015.
Mhm. It was again a very similar way to how I fell into triathlon. Was just again falling into open water swimming, and because I'd done previous team crossings and things, it was just obviously for me the next logical step was like to step up and do it myself. So again, with no coach, just utilising a bit of knowledge that what I thought would work. Just started training myself and just sort of building up the load as I went along. And yeah, look back at it now, it's quite funny. It's like probably not the way you do it now, but I do feel like I was prepared for the distance, but probably not the, I guess, the execution, which was the threshold stuff and trying to swim at a faster pace and things. So, and then understanding all the little ins and outs of what it takes with a crew and a paddler and all those sort of things, those little intricate details that yeah you learn from your first. You take in a lot of feedback about what you could do better next time and those sort of things. So yeah, quite an interesting journey just to get to the start line, trying to fit training in around family and then work commitments and those sort of things without the structure of, I guess, a coaching program. But yeah, it was a very interesting swim for me. Spent 10 minutes trying to find my paddler at the time. It was quite a stressful situation to be in, and those little things that you learn. But once we got going, it was just a matter of surviving to the end, which I knew I could do. It was just one of the things that always drives you to do anything is that, I could do that so much better next time. Yeah.
So what do you think triathlon did to help prepare you for, or maybe didn't help you to prepare you for this transition into open water swimming?
Um, Triathlon gave me the desire to always, I guess, look to get the best out of myself. I'm not a professional athlete. I'm not overly athletic in any things, but what I do is I try and apply myself to extract absolute best in any circumstance. So that I've felt I did that with triathlon. To get the Kona was a goal which I remember. Took us on a camp to Wildcatcham, was it? I think, and I wrote down in my hand like you wanted to write down your goals, and I always wrote Kona down as the goal, and that's something that I thought was would be very lucky to get there. Everything had to fall into place, and it did. So it kind of put that mindset that, well, if I do apply myself, then as long as you do the work, as long as you commit and really knuckle down and make some sacrifices and do the smart things. So yeah, that's one of the things I guess was open water swimming. I knew I ticked the box in getting across the channel, which it doesn't always happen on your first attempt for people. So I'm grateful for that. But I think I had that hunger and desire of that. I can try and do this again. I really enjoyed it. Like it was something that was wonderful because I love being in the ocean and things. But yeah, I guess that time with triathlon always had that driving factor of I can nail this, and it's probably about applying yourself to it.
So you've done, I think, 9 solos now, or 9 crossings. What keeps bringing you back?
It's the ocean between I guess Cottesloe or Leighton and Rottnest is just it's one of those pieces of ocean that's just wonderful. Swimming into the blue waters of Rottnest is just amazing. So you never get sick of that. Um, It'll keep you honest as well because you get in the gauge roads. It can be quite choppy and it can really test you mentally about pushing on or getting swept off with the currents and those sort of things. So it's always a challenge. And so that keeps drawing you back. There's no two swims are the same. but then it's also the community, I guess, with regards to doing it. I fell into a really great swim squad, positive swim squad, and I guess when your mates in the boats and mates swimming next to you and all being part of it, and then you got wonderful island and obviously the pub, which is probably one of the main reasons you keep going back is for that community and that socialising and having done something. Most days you can see Rottnest and you look out there and just go, wow, yeah, I can swim there, or that's pretty cool thing to be able to do. So yeah, that's what kept bringing me back. I'm obviously away now and things and stuck on number 9, so definitely want to come back and get number 10 done. So yeah, just having so many great memories there, and yeah, just loving the challenge of swimming to another island just off the coast is yeah, it's nothing better.
So in this process, in doing these swims, you work up to doing a double crossing. So what was different psychologically about that?
Yeah, it's quite a funny one because probably mentally I wasn't ready. There was obviously as part of training up to my first really big international swim, which was Catalina Channel. And so yeah, we're tossing around the idea of doing a winter crossing. So also being the first to do a winter crossing with my mate Dean Kearns at the time. So we got it done just at the start of June. Had a window of relatively good weather. wasn't a flash day, but we sort of got going and wanted to have a really good challenge that would set us up for, I guess, in America is a long way to go if you're not prepared. So let's bite off, a challenge that is just a little bit out of reach, I think. Well, that's how I thought, and yeah, probably mentally was not quite as switched on as we needed to be. So, and also probably fitness-wise, physically, it was probably a little bit of a stretch as well. So I actually went into that swim just thinking, oh, I'll just do one crossing and see how I feel, and maybe just pull the pin after that. So, but yeah, that's what the difference between having a good crew and not having a supportive crew can be. Because yeah, I got to the other end. Well, I got to Rottnest, sitting there eating my noodles, looking back, going, oh no, I'm not going to do this. And yeah, and Kindwin, and obviously Kindwin, all 5 foot of it, stood there and times that I'm not pulling out. I'm going to get this done, and that yeah, going to swim back. So it was decided for me there and then I was going to do it. I won't say what she said because I'm sure there'll be kids listening. So yeah, I ended up jumping back in, and we just made plans of doing 20-minute feeds instead. My shoulder was really sore, and so yeah, I just said, oh, okay, I'll get to the next 20 minutes and reassess, get to the next 20 minutes, and ended up, yeah, really, I guess, getting dragged there by the crew. A couple of mates came and swam with me for a period of time that they're allowed, just to give me a bit of company in the water, and then ended up sitting, I guess, maybe 1K, I don't know. They were telling me lies at the end how far off I was, but it was pitch black, dark off Cottesloe, not something where I wanted to be mentally and physically, because of obviously, like anyone else, I'm worried about the things that bite you out there, and that was probably one of my worst nightmares, to be off Cottesloe at dark by myself in a sense. So I was wanting to jump out. Actually, I was mentally done, absolutely cooked, and wanted to hop out. But yep, the crew sort of, I remember the skipper, Matty Pride, just sort of driving the boat towards the ocean, said, okay, come in, jump in. And he kept driving away, so I had to keep following him. So yeah, I even had one of my mates there in the water just sort of blocking me from jumping out of the water. So yeah, in the end I was just frustrated, and so bloody hell, I'll just get going and swim to the end, and ended up finishing. So yeah, it was pretty decent considering my my condition. So that was one of the hardest moments of my life in especially in sporting life, where I guess your mind just shuts down and you're really relying on your crew to get you through. Yeah, because when you look at the achievement, it was amazing to be part of the first to do the first winter double crossing, and don't know if that will, under the new out of crossing rules, I don't know if anyone will be able to do that again. But when you look at it as a result, it's ticked off. But I look at it as the experience. I just learned so much about myself, about where my limits are, and about how far you can push, and really how important it is to have the right people around you at that time. Because I had some, one of my best mates from childhood there, and I knew he wouldn't let anything happen to me, and everyone knew that I could do it. I didn't know I could do it, but they all believed that I could. So getting to the end there was much about them than it was about the achievement and about me doing it. And that's something that I took away from that, is that I knew that if I ever got in that situation again, that I could dig deep. I could rely on my crew to get through it. So it was a pretty pivotal time in I guess my open water swimming career, that you can pull through. Things are not going to go your way all the time, but it's about getting it done, and really relying on your crew. Yeah.
So obviously it was as you've indicated, a really big challenge. And you've said you've learnt quite a lot about yourself and about how to approach some of these swims. So then if we start to lead into the Triple Crown, how much of that did you take into what was coming up next?
Mm. Yeah, well, that was a big thing because Catalina Channel, as people may not know, is that you got to swim through night. So, so I just had a freaked out at night, in a sharky environment where you go to Catalina Channel and basically it's a white shark breeding ground, and they say don't cast a shadow, all these sort of things. So it's all these little mental challenges that you got to get over, and I knew that the majority of the swim will be in the dark, so I had to get my mindset right. So I had to, I was thinking up jokes and trying to think about things to talk to my paddler and the crew, and things just to keep my mind away from that, keep it positive and keep really focused on the task at hand. And, that's about just swimming your first hour and then having your first feed, get that one done. And then, then you get into your rhythm of your feeding every 30 minutes and just work to the next one and just block out anything else. So, I just remember at Catalina Island and looking out at the ocean, pitch black, 10:30 at night, just knowing that for the next, however, like probably another 8-9 hours before the sun's coming up, so you're going to have to just knuckle down and get it done. So really, it was really important that I just didn't panic and drew on that experience that I went through with the double. That the mind is so powerful. So just focus on what you can control. Focus on you try and break it up. And I guess that's one other thing in that I learned from triathlon. You break it up into small, bite-sized chunks that you can just sort of progress your way through the swim. So your first 3 hours, and then you sort of regroup after that, and then go let's go for the next 3 hours, and just work with the team that way. And I knew I had a paddler there, and had my dad and his partner there with us, as well as Kindman, the coach, and Dean was there. So had a really great crew around me. So I felt like I was in really good hands. The only thing is that took a shark shield all that way, and found out pretty much all the way through that it wasn't turned on from the get-go. So that was but in the end of the day, there's so much wildlife out there, and I'm pretty sure I heard a whale swim past, and then dolphins at the end, and it was such an amazing, I guess, achievement in the end for the first big international swim that I'd done. And it was really, really, showed again, I guess I conquered that fear of swimming at night, which was a good thing because I pretty much did, I think, 3/4 of the Triple Crown all was swimming at night. So it's something you just have to do if you're going to be doing these challenges. You've got to be comfortable in these situations. So yeah, that was again another little tick in the fact that mentally overcame that little, I guess, little fear I had, I guess, for swimming in the dark.
So we've talked a little bit about Catalina. How would you define the swims? Like, so obviously each of them are quite different in this Triple Crown. So how would you sort of talk about the main challenges or what you might see within these other swims?
Yeah. They're all very unique, and they're all very beautiful and have their own sort of, I guess, little challenges to them. And yeah, Catalina has the night swimming. I think that's the biggest thing because you get the best conditions at night. You really, that's a no-brainer. You got to swim that time. So that's the big challenge with that one. English Channel is different. That is a beast, and it's rightfully, at the top as the Everest of all swims, because I believe it's one of those swims that on paper looks achievable, but there's so much that can go wrong for the swimmer that's not prepared and not mentally in the game to overcome these challenges that come up, because the channel will do what the channel wants to do on the day, and it's not predictable. The currents are crazy. Yeah, it's just a beast. So you got to be able to swim at night. You got to be able to swim during the day, into night, depending on what the currents are telling you to do. So you're putting a lot of faith in your pilot. So you got to take ego out of it and actually tell them how fast you swim per hour, because that's very crucial to them mapping the route and getting you to the best landing point. You got to be able to withstand days on end waiting for the weather. Will you go? Won't you go? Um, yeah, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature in more ways than one with that one. So that's in itself just a massive challenge. And then Manhattan Island swim is just, again, something that you need to put a lot of faith in your skippers and your paddler, because you basically got 3 river systems and 3 different tidal movements. So they're going to map that all out for you so that you're making the most of the tidal, the benefits. So again, you got to be very, very honest with how fast you're swimming, so they can map out the best route for you so that you're making the most of it. Otherwise, you'd be swimming against the current for quite a bit. You got to be able to put up with logs and things swimming into you, which I thought was a dead body to start with, but it was actually a massive big log that cut my head within the first half an hour. So yeah, and again, I just got put on a night swim, which I wouldn't have chosen of all my history of swimming at night, but I actually would not change it for the world, because swimming around New York at night was just amazing, absolutely amazing. The lights, and not that you see much, but from what you can see from the water, it was just remarkable. And had one of those nights that was really warm. I think it was the harvest moon that they call it, so really bright and just not a breath of wind. And yeah, again, had all my family there and things, so that was just a real special moment. So that was a great one to finish off on. Like 3 very different swims, all with their different challenges, which I think, yes, they're historical swims, but yeah, I think the Triple Crown it's really showcases a really well-rounded open water swimmer, and it's a great challenge for anyone out there who really wants to push themselves to tick off, because it is achievable if you put in the work and you put the time in the water, and understand that things don't always go your way, but you have little ways of dealing with that.
So just a couple of quick ones around this Triple Crown. For you,
hmm
which was the hardest?
Yeah, definitely English Channel. It was just a a big swim, and I remember through learning about swims and things, that there's always a danger part that within the first 3 hours, like most swims, people get out within the first 3 hours or the last 3 hours of the swim sort of thing. So they're always the danger points. And I remember getting into the English Channel, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, so it was pitch black. It was quite choppy and again, preparation. I thought we are on one boat, the Anastasia, but Eddie's got two. So the Anastasia is white hull and things, where Pegasus, his other boat, is pretty much dark blue. What I saw as that night as black. So I couldn't really, with my eyesight failing me when I turned 40, I didn't have prescription goggles for that swim, so I couldn't see anything. I was just started swimming up the channel and all this, and they were waving me back, and I was really disorientated. And I just didn't think I could continue like this. I was just like, there's no way, I can't. I was out there swimming in dark. Yes, there was a light that was shining right at me, but that was just blinding me, so I couldn't really see how far off the boat I was. So like I was saying, having a great crew is really important. So obviously Anna was there, my dad. So she problem solved and basically got some glow sticks, hung them on the side of the boat so that then I could actually see where the hull was, and then I could actually then just sort of know how far to sit off the boat, because I've got to follow the boat. That's the one rule that they have. So it was really, really lucky that we're prepared. So yeah, that made the swim a lot easier. I just remember always turning and looking and just focusing on those little glow sticks for so long. So it was one of those things that could have derailed my swim, because yeah, it's not light until about 7 o'clock over there, and even when it was light, it was a big fog over the channel, so it was really gloomy, a little bit choppy and things. And then coming into Calais, or coming into the Cape, sorry, that they had me landing on, which was absolute spot on. The tide changed a little early, and like I was saying, the currents are massive there, and I was swimming on the same spot for for a little while, only 700 meters off from the Cape. And yeah, they basically said if I missed that, then I had another 2 hours of swimming ahead of me, so I needed to sprint. So that's after 11 hours of bloody swimming, getting told to sprint. That's where you really dig into the training and hope you haven't skipped any sessions and things. Which, yeah, that was probably the one thing that I did prepare myself, was because I always had that fear, and I trained with a little bit of fear that I'd go that far and not make it, and that's a long way to go and a lot of money to spend and things. And so yeah, I made sure that I had that sort of last hurrah in me. I remember my wife Anna there sitting on the boat, just with her hands like in a kicking motion, just telling me to kick my feet. And I think I did as I was coming over my arm, I did a finger sign to her. I was probably not, that was not the advice I wanted to hear at that time, because I'd been swimming, 11 hours. But yeah, she was right. I had to kick. I had to get my ass onto the rocks. And I think the last 700 meters took me probably half an hour just to swim. And I was swimming at full pace, like as much as I could. And yeah, made it and crawled up the rocks, skinned all my knees and things, and got to the end. And I just remember getting back on the boat and pretty much throwing up from exhaustion, because yeah, I gave it all at the end. It wasn't easy by any stretch, and yeah, I felt like I got the full channel experience. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a lot of confidence away from that swim, that we had all these little things that went wrong, had a plan, you had nutrition was on point, from a lot of learning again from previous swims, and that enabled me to get those last 700 meters, which could have ended up being another 2 or 3 hours of swimming if I didn't make it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely one of the hard ones.
So, how did you feel at the end of that?
Oh, it was relief. Once the vomiting stopped and things, so it was absolute relief. because there was a lot of things around it. Because English Channel, I was booked to do that in 2020. So obviously, COVID derailed that, and so years later got pushed, and then even in 2021, end of 2021, we moved to New Zealand. So that uprooted me from probably my main supports in swimming. With our swim squad, Coach Kindwin, and a lot of things changed, I guess, for me. I had a lot of, I guess, uh, a lot of mental health issues and things surrounding my life at the time. I had a back injury that was impacting a lot of my life at the time as well. So and that's when I say that I was training with I guess a bit of fear that I would fail. There was a lot of, I guess, in that sense, there was my mental state, my physical state. Because I remember getting to England and having numbness in my legs and things, and not being able to walk everywhere and that because of the way my back was at that time. And so I made sure that part of that was just putting in a lot of work in the pool to make sure that I was prepared, because it probably wasn't getting. I didn't have my usual support, so I had to find a group of people here that were like-minded and enjoyed their swimming and things, which I have found now. So that was great to have some sort of community in the pool here at Dunedin. But it just didn't replace what I had at the time and things. So it was a lot of adjustment in that sense, and a lot of self-doubt in that, could I do it without that support around me, even though I knew that they were messages, very close with messaging and things, and then kept in contact. But it's just that whole, I guess, getting into a new environment and adjusting, and then knowing that you're going a long way to a really big swim, and just really wanting it to go well. Because at the time we were traveling, my wife also, she qualified for UTMB, which is absolutely massive race over in Chamonix in France, and that was going to be held a week or two after my swim. So there's a lot trip and a lot of I guess expectation and really wanting it to go well for both of us, sort of thing. So that's probably why there was a lot around that swim, that outside influences, and I guess you just call it life in general, that can impact your preparation and your mental state in trying to achieve something that you've, I guess, had it in your mind since I was booked in 2020, so ended up 3 years later being able to achieve it. So it was a long time to sort of sit on that challenge and have that sort of expectation, a lot of time to think about it and how it's going to be, and run through a whole lot of scenarios and things. But I wouldn't change it for the world. It was an amazing experience, and have my wife there to do it, and my dad, which he's been on every swim that I've done. So that's pretty special as well. He's been there each time. So
I think it's a wonderful place to leave part one of this conversation with Adam O'Byrne. We've followed his journey from AFL footballer and paramedic through Ironman and Kona, then into marathon swimming, multiple Rottnest crossings, a double crossing, and ultimately the triple crown of open water swimming. In part two, we'll explore what happened next, why Adam deliberately started seeking out colder and colder water, how he became an ice swimmer, completed an ice mile, and earned the frosted triple crown and became an Iron Iceman. I hope you'll join us for that conversation. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please share it with a training partner, swimming friend, or anyone who might enjoy these stories from the open water community. Thanks for listening, and as always, I'll see you in the water.